any kind of exploitation of human weakness creates, in the path of those who benefit from it, a bumpy, muddy, and dark road that will teach them to remake their lifestyle. Exploiting vice, sexual weakness, the fragility of ignorance, the lack of culture and conscience in making choices, material or moral poverty, faith or superstition by frightening them with hellish predictions, lack of affection. In short, any posture of inferiority means a betrayal of the duty to support the weakest, aid the fallen, and elevate those in need of help, which will represent a painful rescue in the future, since no one escapes the truth before the laws of the universe. Just as the administrator who vilifies the public coffers for his own personal gain, or those of his support group in maintaining his political tradition, is culpable for such excesses, so is the administrator who vilifies the public coffers for his own ends or those of his support group in maintaining his political tradition, just as those who turn themselves into an industry of physical seduction, casting spells, or displaying bodies and forms to the greedy and immature gaze of self-control, violate divine canons. Even more profoundly do those who use the preaching of the truth of the kingdom of God to convert it into a money-making industry, taking advantage of personal needs and transforming moments of spiritual elevation into spectacles that vulgarly display personal tragedy, transforming it into business propaganda. The pagan hell reserved for these merchants of divine truth the worst of all sufferings. And if it is true that in the vision of the spiritual world, one can no longer speak of hell in the physical sense of the term, with beings eternally doomed to evil to lash out at the wicked, the merchants of faith bear the harsh responsibility of suffering the consequences of their actions, whether from the pulpit, the altar, the parlor, or the stage. After threatening naive credulity with hellfire to better pocket large sums of money, or demanding proof of love for God through checks and other valuables, forcing listeners to part with things with the promise of future repayment, these worldly prophets, merchandise traffickers who enrich their lives through such behavior utterly divorced from the Gospels, will be profoundly surprised by what awaits them in the spiritual life. Processions of believers deceived by their arguments will stand before them, demanding the fulfillment of their promises or the return of their money, only to find that the transaction did not materialize as promised.